Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Cluster Puck Podcast, part of the MHRT Network here at Center Ice. I am Nick. Beside me, as always, is Brit. What's up, Brit?
Nothing. Just coming in hot, the usual. My husband left 2 days ago, or for 2 days, like a month ago. So we're just barely keeping the train together here.
There you go.
How are you?
Where's he at this time?
Alaska.
Alaska.
So,
Jeez.
yeah.
You ever consider just going with him? Just cause, you know?
Unfortunately, like everything, I have to keep everyone afloat here. So I wish I could just abandon it. But that's why
because that would just
free life, Nick. You guys are.
I know, because that would be fun just to be like, hey, I'm just going to tag along with you this time to Switzerland or wherever he's headed.
Eventually, I'm hoping I can go to Guam at some point this winter while they're there. So
Guam, that'd be kind of fun.
A little more appetizing than Alaska as far as vacation.
I don't know. I'd go for fishing, although
I don't think it's like the as great part of Alaska. I don't know.
Interesting. Well, always welcome in, everybody. I think you asked how I'm doing. I'm doing good. Everything ship shape-ish here. About as good as it can be with a busy life, So yeah. Anyway, before we get started, everyone, again, don't forget to like and subscribe, follow the MHRT Network so you can get notified when shows like the Cluster Puck podcast go live. You can follow them on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. I mean, just you find it, we'll have it. I guarantee you. If you want to follow us specifically, you can follow us at the Cluster Puck Podcast on Facebook and then Cluster Puck Avs on Twitter /X, Instagram, Threads, and I think that's it. So I guess kind of let's get into the obvious news. When this happened, I quickly texted you saying we actually have like substantial talk, like new stuff. You know what I mean? Instead of just trying to repeat the same line over and over, we actually have new substantial news, I guess, for everybody. Yeah. So news broke last week, so it's been a while. So it's been out there for a bit.
I know, the Avalanche like a year ago already.
It does, it's like that's the hard part. It's like you really want to get on there and just talk about it day of or moment of even.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get the initial thoughts out there. But now that we've had time and stuff, it'll be actually really good to dissect the signing. What signing is that? Everyone is asking. Well, the Avalanche have gone out and signed Tomas Tatar for a 1-year, $1.5 million deal.
And the rest of the is not very happy about it there.
That's right. It's basically just another sample of I don't want to jinx anything by any means, but it's just kind of one of those scenarios of the rich get richer type thing where it's like you have now stapled down your top 9 and the depth now is just outrageous. Like even top to bottom, fourth line included, it's just outrageous,
especially with the rookie camp going on and seeing how well it's going. We may have an overabundance, we're starting to lose places to put people even in lower levels, so it's going to be very interesting to see where people pan out.
No, it really is, and that's just it. It was you had that extra cash in case something were to happen. Well, they noticed that Tatar wasn't signed.
1 year that we signed Erod.
I know, it's like so. I kind of feel like that's almost your replacement if you think about it. Except he's kind of got a little bit more production than what Erod had, so it's kind of like you're upgrading everyone. You know?
It makes losing Erod especially paying him $1.5 million. I mean, there's some negative discussion regarding his playoff performance lacking. He's had a very up and down playoff performance. Generally, it's been inconsistent and low in production, but it's also just it's not been ideal for a person to be productive. But for $1.5 million, what are you asking out of a guy for $1.5 million? The thing is we're acting like we're signing our second line center for it or something, but it's $1.5 million. I mean, it's a very safe bet. And I like the top, or the like little cliche, like some people get you there and some people get you through. And that's what we need people to just be there to get us to the playoffs. And we know who scores in the playoffs, and that's Nathan freaking McKinnon. So if they can just help us stay healthy and offer some time for rest, that's the key. And then the got it.
Exactly. And I mean, you look at Tatar's stats from last season with New Jersey. Miles Woods, I think line mate at one point during the season, he had 20 goals, 28 assists, right, for a total of 48 points. So it's like, if you're doing that on a third line, which is kind of like the maybe projected place that he'll slot in, that's incredible.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
He's, he is not old. He's like, what, 33? I think he's been in the league for over 10 years. So, I mean, he's tenured, and he's guys that can make it that long are doing something right. There's something to them that makes them capable of withstanding. And it's just, that's a good age. Like, it's a nice age where good fillers, matured.
Yeah.
Not too much drama, hopefully. Sounds like he's well liked in the locker room. Always good. I was worried that we may make like a frantic signing and take somebody that might be a locker room liability, like a Corey Perry was discussed a lot. Not that he's a locker room liability, but he's just one of those guys that bring yucky noise, which people may have said the same about Kadri, but he fit in perfectly. But it's just kind of nice. It's just a nice, quiet role player, blue collar.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, all in all, I think it's a perfect signing.
That's my armpit dog.
Armpit dog. There you go. Got to have one of those every so often. But all in all, I think that the move was just first of all, it's a no-brainer. Second of all, the deal of the century. It's almost like that Jonathan Drouin signing, where it's like you don't sign him for much, and if he comes out swinging for the fences, it's great, grab him for another year and keep it rolling, kind of like with what they've done with Cogliano, where it's like he's proven himself to be so good that you signed him for one more year and then another year, and so it's like you maybe keep that train going.
Well, and that's what we're essentially becoming, a destination to send people off to make more money. If you can come here and do something, I mean, what did Erod sign for, like $3.5 million? Is he worth that? Probably not, but he was able to make it seem as such, or prove that, he's worth a gamble. And that's what we've sent so many people on their way, making a lot of money. And that's good, scouting.
No, it really is. And so with the addition of Tatar, which if you could take a crystal ball and go back in time and you go to the Cluster Puck Podcast Twitter page, you will see before free agency began, and this, like I said, I don't toot my own horn often, but I will this time because it's pretty impressive. You will see that Nick made his picks, and I posted that on Twitter saying here's the ones to look out for. You will see two names on there amongst others, and one of them was Jonathan Drouin, which we got him like right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And the other one was Tomas Tatar, and boom, here it is. So the fact that I got two right, I'm pretty impressed.
Well, and it's always been so miserable being such a fan who wants to engage and speculate and play armchair GM, because Joe Sakic never, ever, ever, ever does what we want. And this year he brought us the surprise with Johansson, and also fulfilled a little of those like tingling fantasies that people have had for so long in Drouin. And a lot of people discussed Tatar, you brought that up, and he finally listened to the people, Nick, because obviously we did. But it's kind of nice.
He actually called me, believe it or not. He called me last week, and I said, dude, Tuna, as they call him, Tuna is still available. That's what they call him, which I'm like, I feel like Tater is kind of the easy go-to.
Yeah, I feel like Tuna is the name that I would try to shake off at any point.
That's apparently what they call him. So I guess we'll have to see how that goes. But I was like, yeah, Tater, that should have been, at least that was the one that I thought was kind of the obvious one, but then again, I'm not the connoisseur of player hockey names, so Tuna. But yeah, he called me last week and I said Tatar is still out there, so go get him.
Yeah, and I think that teams were probably circling him, and I'd imagine he had quite a few options. But the thing is, by waiting it out, there's not many teams left with even $1.5 million. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are getting ready to cut or beg them to sign ridiculous contracts to stay.
And that's just it now after Tatar's. Sorry, I cut you off. What did you say?
No, I can't remember. And it's unprecedented, the cap squeeze that they're under with the limited raises that they've gotten and some of the bets that teams made, like Toronto, and paying these guys a lot with the intention to have it covered with the cap rise. So this is an interesting time. Money's about to just start flying in the next couple of years. People are going to
Fingers crossed that it does.
But it's crazy. The GMs are really they're having to do a lot of things that they've never had to finagle and work in new ways. All of these, like the buyouts, I just don't remember buyouts ever being such a thing. I mean, it's not even embarrassing or demoralizing anymore to be bought out at this point. It's just businessy business.
One of those things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The trades just, oh my God, it's already hard enough to track trades sometimes, but trying to follow the money and the people, and it's insane. Some of these trades, 3-team trades, some money is held back, and it's messy. So I bet the agents are not enjoying this in any way.
Probably not. I would hate to be an agent at this point, especially an agent of multiple players.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you say keeping track of it difficult to do. So the video game NHL 24 doesn't come out for another couple of weeks, right? A few weeks. So I went into the NHL 23, this latest game that is out, and I tried to go through and make every single roster move because there wasn't one available out there that I saw. So I quickly tried to make all the moves. It took me so long that I was like, you know what? As long as I have the Avalanche, I don't care. So there was a lot of stuff happening, especially, with you look at teams like Pittsburgh that got a bunch of guys, and the Avalanche that signed a bunch of guys. And then you look at teams like Vancouver that maybe got 1 or 2. Columbus that I think stayed idly by, so it's crazy the times we live in where you have now these little short-term deals or bridge deals now is kind of what they call them, 2 to 3 years, hoping, especially now that this cap will go up.
And the elite players simply do not go into free agency. Like the elite players, I mean, can you name a time that an elite player went to free agency with no intention and just exploring options? My child is Gorilla Tag. I don't know if any of you people have experienced Gorilla Tag. I highly recommend not letting your child. If you hear him screaming, no one's hurting him. It's just
there you go. There you go. I think the last time, to answer your question, that I think of at the time was a superstar because he having recently won a Stanley Cup was Alex Pietrangelo.
Yeah.
Back in 2019 now? No, 18.
Yeah.
What was that, 19? But even then, he's not one of your face of the league type, Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, those types of guys.
Yeah,
you're exactly right. Where it's they lock those guys up, signed, sealed, delivered for as many extensions as they can because they know how valuable they are.
They want those 8-year contracts, and it's wild to think about signing your life away, especially if you're on a team with any interest. Oh my goodness. With uncertainties in their future. Could you imagine Lindholm signing for Calgary? It's are you guys burning it down or are we building it up? It's there's a lot of people making some big decisions, and then you've got guys like Matthews who very savvy contract on his part. He's gonna get paid twice.
That's kind of it, so with the money option and everything happening, you're happy to get these types of guys for that. We said this $1.5 million. The only problem now that leaves the Avalanche with, I think, just a couple bucks of change over $500K left on the, after Landeskog goes to IR and all that stuff. You only have about $500,000 to
go grab a coffee
to do anything. So the question is now with Tatar, and then we'll kind of segue that into another place. where could he fit? Because everyone's kind of thinking baseline, he's third line with Miles Wood on his flank, and then centering that is Ross Colton.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's kind of where they start? Do you think it's maybe a mix and match? Like what could happen now?
Yeah, I think that he'll pan out on the third line. And even if he's somebody that could play the second, I like the idea of padding that third line so that he is on the higher end of the matchups when it comes to team versus team. And that's where depth really helps, is when you've got a strong fourth line that plays against a neglected fourth line for another team. That's where you can really start to see, like those Coglianos and people like that pop off in those weird matchups. So I like him on the third line, especially because I mean, are we going to go over our lines? Because the way I see it panning out, I feel the third line partners would be a better fit for him than who I anticipate being on the second line.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, a lot of people expect that your top line is going to be McKinnon, Drew, and Rantanen, or McKinnon, Lehkonen, Rantanen. Either one of those two would work just fine. I was in the camp of having Druin on the top line just because I feel like getting him to his former self could really solely rest on Nathan McKinnon. And, they have a great friendship and chemistry since the Halifax Mooseheads years ago. So, that's kind of the general consensus. And then that second line could be where you have Ryan Johansson, you have Val Nichushkin, and then Arturi Lehkonen / maybe Jonathan Drouin. But I feel like with the Avalanche depth, even though it's kind of slated that you have now Tatar, Colton, Woods on that third line, I kind of feel like it would almost be beneficial if you maybe mixed it up and just had maybe one of each on every single line. You think so? And just play with it just to see about like chemistry or who fits best in what type of scenario. But that's the thing is, like you said, if you have that third line as we discussed, right, with Colton, Wood, and Tatar, you're the best three out on the ice at the time, because it's our third line versus theirs, and it seems like nobody else is going to have as deep a team now.
I don't anticipate that our opening lineups will be anything like what we end up at the end of the season. It's going to be just rolling, like it's going to be wild. I think. I don't think that Bednar is going to hold back at all. As far as they might just take Cogliano and put him on the first line. Like I just don't think that they really have a whole lot of, especially with how well-rounded most of our players are. Some of our newer guys do struggle with some defensive issues, but for the most part, we have a very versatile bottom three lines. I mean, our fourth line obviously is not usually going to move up too far, but as far as the top three lines are, they really could. And last year we showed we could win the division taking our fourth line and putting it on the first line. It's crazy. So we might see some wild stuff, and you never know what'll click. So I want to go right now.
I know, and we're getting so close. I mean, preseason starts Sunday for the Avalanche.
And I
we're there,
but it's just not going to see probably most.
You won't see the big names until maybe the last preseason game, and that's even them. It's just for warm up, so they might play 2 or 3 shifts and they're done. But hey, that. Just the fact that you have preseason on the horizon.
Oh my God.
Means regular season's right there. So it's we're so close. Now with this team that is now set, I don't think they're making any moves. I don't think they can make any moves. My biggest concern is injuries. Yeah. Because you cannot spell Colorado Avalanche without the letters HURT, right?
Yeah.
So that being said, can this team keep it together? Now that's kind of a loaded question because you can't really dilute the season with fortune telling and knowing exactly what's going to happen and stuff like that. But should the team remain healthy, I guess maybe should be my question. Can they achieve something far better than what they did last year at first round exit?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm an optimist because I'm a fan of theirs, but last year I did not feel good going into the season. it was always hanging on a thread for Landy to come back, hanging on this. And going in this year with the clarity feels so good. I am like I have every bit of confidence that with health, like even just moderate health, like not 400, whatever it was, man games last, just moderate average health. I truly think that we could destroy it, go straight to the Stanley Cup again. I honestly just have all the faith in the world. Whether if I was a fan of somebody else's team, I would be concerned about the Avs. I think it's just us and Dallas in this conference the whole time.
I totally agree, and that's just it. You know, it's you look at when we won the Stanley Cup back in 22, right? The depth that we had was outstanding, right? And that's what kept us getting through. Now, granted, there were little injuries here and there, but nothing that really took someone out for a season, someone key for a season.
And staggered. Like
exactly, and it wasn't all at once, you know. It was just, you know, you can never have a full team, but at least they were only out for like 3 or 4 games, you know, instead of 3 or 4 months. But you look at the team you have now, knowing that you won't have Landeskog for the regular season. Hopefully, maybe
right, which I think
don't have Landeskog.
Come to terms with that, and that was a really big struggle last year. I know that sounds super dumb, but I think that everybody's kind of like wrapped their mind around it, and it's I do think that finality in, you know, is good for everyone, particularly myself.
That's right. So you look at the team without Landeskog this year, and you look at the team compared, like the depth compared to 22. I really feel like the depth you have, I guess, on paper, better productive numbers than what you had in this year. You know, you have better productive numbers than you had in 22. So it's like, by that logic, there's no reason to believe the expectation should be winning a Stanley Cup for the 2023-24 season. Nobody
that we've taken, like short of something drastic, nobody should take a nosedive coming to the Avs. That is never. I mean, we made Kubel look like he's a Stanley Cup champion player. Like we do. People just don't nosedive in Colorado.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess speaking of nosedives and injuries and stuff like that, you know, there is now the discussion, and this is kind of the title of today's episode, is what's going on with Pavel Francouz. Because like we talked about, we have depth in the forward, we have depth in the defense, we had depth in the goalie, but now Francouz is going to be out for some time, is what the news article or the news release says. How long? Who knows, right? But that's going to be the big question now, is what are you going to do? Because they're now saying that they're looking at goalie situation, because it's like, I don't know. Does this spell the end of Francouz's run as a Colorado Avalanche, or what has to happen here?
There's been like a lot of speculation, which, you know, that's what we do. That's what we get paid money for, you know, a lot of money. But I haven't heard any exact talks about Frankie. McFarland was on DNVR. McFarland, the Avs GM, was on DNVR the other day, and he did what Avalanche front office people do and wishy-washied around it. So there was no particular clarity on that. It circulated that they were exploring DeSmith, the Penguins backup goalie.
Yeah.
There's a DeSmith. I always think it's DeSmith. But which that like is not exciting to me. But also we've been very spoiled having an elite backup for the times that we've been able to back up. But it's just kind of coming to the end of the road with Frankie. Like it's we got to have some stability in there. And I'm curious if even if we did pick up DeSmith, or if we waited out, goalies are going to start flying through that waiver wire like it's nobody's business. So many teams have an extra goalie. We just need to be cognizant that it might be an AHL move, because clearly they are confident in Annunen, but I just don't know exactly when they're going to express that, because they haven't put him in ideal situations to have a successful NHL game. Really, it was not a fun game for him, that one that he came out last year. And I'm curious if they would be filling that position for Onanen to compete with that person for the AHL versus the backup. I mean, this is could really be a good time to actually get him up because they've put a lot of effort in him and a lot of faith in him. They have to, because they ditch goalies like it's nobody's business. And that guy, when was he drafted? 19? A while.
Something, yeah.
And we don't draft goalies, and we've kept him. So keeping someone and keeping a goalie, drafting a goalie, we saw something in him, and we're either trying to revive that or, get it out. I don't know.
Yeah. Because that's really kind of the ultimatum that the Avalanche are given is we don't know yet what the timeline of him being out is, right? So the question is, do you stay in-house and call up Annunen and see if he rises to the occasion while Francouz is getting healthy or whatever, if half a season out or, what have you? Or do you do kind of what you've been doing, even though money's going to be a big question about this, so you'll have to probably get rid of a player or something like that, or have them retain everything and sweeten the deal with draft picks. I don't know. Do you go out and get someone that is, I don't want to say proven exactly, but someone that is a reliable backup, like Casey DeSmith? You know, what if you had to pick one or the other, in-house or go out and get someone? What would you do?
If we were in the Stanley Cup season and we were looking at this position, I would have wanted to find somebody solid and take no risks. But considering we have Georgiev, who has proven to be a stable, healthy goaltender that thrives on consistent minutes, I'm a lot more comfortable in feeling it out and giving Onanen a real shot. If we made it to winning the division last year, we need to not stress about every little loss during this season. I think it's worth it to maybe take some L's or take some hard games to see what we got in him and give him a chance to pop off and really get some momentum. I'm comfortable in exploring that. And then when you get to that deadline, that's where we do our thing.
Yeah.
We need it.
So that's true. So what I think, and this is just my reaction, and there's a lot of pros and cons to both, but if it were me, I would say we give Annunen a try, because how else are you going to know exactly what you have unless you give him some kind of play experience for him to actually get better, get comfortable, stuff like that, instead of letting him sit by, in the alcoves off stage and not know exactly
very
what
successful
you have.
In the AHL. There's really not much to say about his play in the AHL. So naturally, the next step should be to, he's not intended to be an AHL lifer.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like he's got to, at some point, he has to make that step, right? Because Francouz's career has been riddled with injury. It's not fair to him. But it's just one of those things where you're just like, it was kind of like EJ back in that stint of like 6 years where he couldn't play a full season healthy to save his life. Like, we were very lucky to have Francouz the back half of that Stanley Cup winning season, so he could play half of that postseason.
I know, the rest of the life that was left out of him.
So like I said, I feel like you give Annunen a shot, just for a little bit or something. And then if it's not working, then maybe go and trade for someone like DeSmith or something like that. But that's just it, is if you give Annunen that chance and it ends up working, now you're going to have a more solid backup to Georgiev. And like you said, Georgiev does thrive on having those games. So maybe it's Georgiev plays 3-4 games in a row, and then you have that team that's not, that's teetering, not doing so well. They're in rebuild mode. Throw Annunen in there. Get him NHL experience, regardless, So, but I guess the downside to that, though, if I have to play pros and cons, is you are going to be stressing a lot on Georgiev. You're going to be relying on him a lot more this season, and the higher the expectation, the higher the reliance, the more a bad result could happen, and he kind of could get, fried out for too much work.
Yeah, and that's what is, to me, that's the priority. If we do anticipate a real Stanley Cup run, we can't have him, of all people, running out of gas.
Yep. Yep. He's kind of the guy that, saves the shots. So
Yeah.
it's a little important. But let us know in the comments, everybody, what you guys think the Avalanche should do as far as goalies go. Like we said, we have an established first goalie with Alexander Georgiev, but now with Frankie's injury, what do you do? If you're the GM, let us know in the comments what your guys' take on this is, and we'll be sure to give every option a try and understand maybe there's an outcome that we haven't explored, because we, like I said, I gave us an ultimatum of 2 roads. Maybe there's a third. We don't know.
Oh yeah.
So that being said, it's really close to the season that this happened. However, the season is now unofficially here. Prospect play, the rookie camp, everything like that is already going, right? And you're seeing these call-ups, these development kids, and stuff. They're already going and playing in their development leagues, the rookie leagues. That means preseason is going to be here. And like I said, it's on Sunday, which is excellent.
Yep.
So that gives a lot of these AHLers a chance most of the time to try and prove themselves, right? Try and show why they deserve that slot. There is one in particular that I'm interested to see, because I want to get your thoughts on this, Brit, is with these tryout people, right? Like we signed Joel Kiviranta to a professional tryout and such.
God, I keep forgetting about the PTOs.
So here's the thing. There's still that fourth line that, technically speaking, Ben Myers has one of those slots, right? Does Kiviranta, does he end up playing? Do the Avs sign him first? That's question A. And then question B is, could you see Kiviranta taking a spot from Ben Myers on the Avalanche and keeping Myers down in the AHL?
I would be really, really curious to know what they under the table promised Ben Myers when he came to Colorado, because getting him was such a lottery win that it may be a huge act of distrust to not put him on the NHL, because he belongs there. And and he last year wasn't exactly a perfect year to assimilate in the NHL, but he's older. I just really wish I knew if they said, we guarantee you an NHL roster spot if you're healthy and functioning, come the next year. I haven't really heard a whole lot about his demeanor regarding, if he were to go up and down. But I feel like he's pretty well slated to be a mainstay, but they might bounce him up and down. But I don't know. Kiviranta is just a weird player. I mean, he doesn't have no value, but I don't know if he's enough to make waves, with what we have in Ben Myers. And how old is he?
Kiviranta? I could pull up his age.
Not that young.
He's probably 27?
Ooh, holy crap. Born in 1996. Okay, so he is young. I mean, I think Ben Myers is 24 or 25. So it's not like we're skipping the old guy for the youth.
Yeah. But the only real question I ask this is, you look on his last season with the Dallas Stars, he did have 8 goals and an assist, which is something Ben Myers has yet to accomplish. He's got, I guess, for goals, speaking of goals, is that something that maybe the Avalanche kind of glean toward, is well, he's producing and Myers has yet to do that? Is that something that's grounds to do that, or what do you think?
No, I just think that you really have to look at last year in a bubble. I think most of it is a wash. I just don't think that you can assess people properly on call-ups when you consider that they were basically playing with their fellow Colorado Eagle team in the NHL, and then there's Nathan McKinnon. I just don't think that last year is a proper assessment of someone's capabilities. So I don't really hold it against Ben Meyer. But, he does, if he comes up and he's able to go up and down, he's going to need to do something pretty quick because he really did struggle to kind of get it going last year. He wasn't necessarily a liability, but he certainly wasn't, stand out in any way.
Yeah, they didn't, I guess, kind of like with what you said, he wasn't making mistakes, but he wasn't going and showing his worth, his true worth, So it'll be interesting to see. And like I said, I don't know if they're going to sign these guys, because we signed a few guys to some PTOs.
Well, in the rookie camp, you've got Poland and Malinsky making a name for themselves. Did you see that shift from Poland where he? Oh my God!
Yeah. So
he is a beast, and that's what he. They interviewed him, and he said that's the game he wants to bring, and he went out there and did exactly what he wanted to do, and that's something you have to respect as somebody that picks a niche or like a genre, some kind of character of play and hones in on it. And a lot of times, if you are a bottom six, fourth liner, finding something to be stupid good at that no one else can defend or stop, those are a lot of the guys that stay in the game. And that's like Logan O'Connor stick handles with rocks for hands sometimes, but the guy can he is an incredible skater. He doesn't necessarily seem to have the highest IQ. If you're watching, it doesn't seem like he's got this brilliant hockey IQ, but the sheer tenacity and speed has willed his way into the NHL.
It really has. It really has. So that's definitely going to be something that that I will be watching for, assuming you can sign them with the limited money you do have. Yeah. Is in the preseason, especially the first few games, you're going to have someone like Ben Myers out there. You're going to have someone like Kiviranta out there, Poulin, like you mentioned. There's going to be all those guys, and I'm really hoping that your coaching and GM is going to look at it and say, okay, clearly this is the best guy right now that needs to start on that fourth line for the Avalanche this upcoming season. So, I don't know, and that's the hard part about this is we did win, kind of like with what you said with Ben Myers. It seems like we won a lottery with him, so it's kind of tough to say there's somebody better than you. Sorry, better luck next time. When Ben Myers, he shows that he has what it takes, but he needs to show he has what it takes. You know what I mean? Like he has games where it's like
just needed a little puck luck last year, which we were doing no puck luck for the Avs last year. So hopefully we got some banked up.
Yeah,
and we can close on that this year.
Yeah, well, puck luck isn't exactly in the vocabulary of the Colorado Avalanche.
Jerry Trample Muskies. I got Muskies.
No,
I don't know if
shout
they're
out.
New City or if they're just a USHL person. I'm excited though because the Avs prospect. What is his name? I keep forgetting it. There's an Avs prospect playing for the Green Bay Gamblers, so I'm hoping that I can maybe hit him up for a talk while he's playing the Muskies. Bring some good talk to you guys because I looked up the prospect rankings and he was like in the top. I think it was 25 of their prospect rankings, so it should be fun.
Very good. That'll be really fun. No, I'm excited. Okay, so like we said, preseason's here, which means regular season is probably 2.5, 3 weeks away. We're right there. We're so close. We might even be less than that. Let me see if I can get an actual calendar here. So first game. So from tomorrow, it'll be 3 weeks is the regular season.
What's the date? I've got the Muskies.
October 10th is when the regular season begins for the Avalanche. Sweet. Or maybe the 11th. I thought it was the 10th, but it might be the 11th. So either way, 3 weeks from tomorrow / Wednesday. It's so close.
I know, and then it's go time.
It is, and we're gonna have a kind of a new way to look at the season. I think we're gonna have some great talking points. It's gonna be a fun season.
You have to think that these guys are foaming at the mouth to get back out there. Not,
they're all reporting. They're all at practices now. Yeah. Like the whole team is back, right? So it's like they're practicing.
Like, Manson should be ready to go for season opener, which that doesn't guarantee that he'll be able to play for any longer than like 10 minutes, but we'll see.
availability is availability, I guess. You know, that's the best ability, I think, is what they say. But
Yeah.
anyways, moving into our next segment here, Britt, we are going to be doing a player spotlight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we are. So we are going to Mr. Jack Johnson today, which it was hard to like do much like research on him to find anything beyond the information about his family. I don't know if everybody quite knows his story because he is kind of a quiet guy. He's relatively private, but he's also super sweet. I mean, every time you see him, he's smiling. He's with his kids. He's a big goofball. He's just got like major dad vibes. His Stanley Cup picture of him eating ice cream with his kids is
isn't it the greatest?
he so I was trying to think of where I should start with Jack Johnson because you know you can start with when he got to the Avs. The guy's life has absolutely insane. So he grew up like regular nuclear family. He went to Shattuck St. Mary's. So they lived in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and they moved to Minnesota. His parents did. They quit their job to move to Minnesota so that they could live there instead of billeting him while he was going to Shattuck. And I'm sure a lot of people know, but some people don't know, like Shattuck is like the long-standing sacred private hockey prep school, kind of the pioneer of a lot of the concepts for, you know, prep school for hockey. My son got to play there this summer, and I talked to one of the parents there, and I think if I remember right, his kid was going to be an elementary school or middle school, but it was about $45,000 a semester to send your child there. I'm sure that they do give out scholarships to get people that they want that can afford it, but it's wild. So his parents moved to Minnesota so that they could live there, where he became one of his best buddies. He played with Mr. Sidney Crosby. They're very close, and they've maintained the friendship. A lot of stuff that you'll read, Sidney Crosby has very kind things to say about him. They've maintained that friendship. He even had that brief stint in Pittsburgh. So for some reason, I had thought that he had a relatively stable career with LA prior to coming to the Avs. He played his thousandth game with the Avs. He has literally been playing in the NHL forever, for a long time. It felt like I was looking at like Yager's career. So he was drafted 3rd overall, which is wild because it's just kind of a big, goofy guy. And usually you think of these like, you know, super elite, you know, robot-minded guys. And so he's drafted 3rd overall by Carolina. And that was in 2008, I think. But it was weird because 2005. And then in 2007, he made his debut with the LA Kings. So I was kind of curious. I was going to look into see what that delay was, you know, how it took 2 years for him to get traded to somewhere else to come out. He debuted in 2007, and he was there for 4 seasons, and he really had a successful tenure with them. I mean, all of his career, he's been stable, and that's what do I always say about him is like he's just trustworthy. And I don't want to say predictable because that sounds, you know, like the other team can predict him, but he's safe. He's just a very well-grounded player. And it was kind of interesting to read that when he was with LA, he actually was one of a very high-end scoring and point defenseman. And then when he was traded in 2012, he made a shift to like a lot more of the stay-at-home tight defensive moves, which is probably a good idea because generally, unless you're Erik Karlsson, that's the kind of thing that's going to keep you in the NHL for longer. You can maintain that as opposed to being so forward-minded. So he's in 6 seasons with the Blue Jackets, and I don't know why I never processed that he was with them for so long, but he's had a very quiet career for somebody that's been consistently good for the last 65 years that he's been in the NHL. But he was signed. I don't know if they must let him go to free agency. He signed in 2018 with the Penguins. So he had a quick tenure with them, and it sounds like that was really good for the Avs because when he was in Pittsburgh, he really made a big upswing in his mental health because he's had a lot of reasons to struggle with mental health in the last few years. Well, I'll just kind of go right into it. It's hard to know even where to start. So he signed what was it? It's just so wild. He's made about $30 million in his career. He signed a 7-year, $30 million contract in 2011 with LA. He was with what is Crosby's his agent's name? Burris? Is that what it is? Burris? Bursois?
I don't know.
So I always mix up his name, but he had a good agent. And his parents decided that they could do it better so that they didn't have to pay the agent fees. And so his parents took over for him. They handled his finances. And growing up, he has a big brother, like a super tight, just really normal family. Well, his parents apparently lost their mind because throughout his first few years, they took out $15 million in loans across 18 high interest loans that were taken out against future earnings of his. So at his lowest point, he was worth $50,000 with $10 million in debt. He found out about this because he was sued for several $1 million and didn't even know. His parents bought a beach house in California. Then they did, which it was in Manhattan. I mean, I can't even fathom as someone who lives in Iowa what a beach house would cost. I know it's more like a house in Iowa, but so they bought that. Then they did $800,000 in loans. They bought several cars. They literally just pissed away the money he hadn't even earned yet.
Everything he earned. Yeah.
He had 2 years left. He had to forfeit 2 years worth of pay. So he's worth $50,000 and has to file bankruptcy and finds out because his parents defaulted on the loans and foreclosed. And one quote that really made me super sad was that at one point he said that he did kind of ask questions, and people are like, how stupid are you not to know? But I mean, I would trust my parents with everything. Like my parents, it would never even, it's unfathomable that a parent, especially just from a normal family, it's not like one that seems like drug or gambling or addiction issues. He said that he asked them occasionally things that seemed off and that they constantly reassured him and just supported him so well, and that they just wanted him to focus on hockey. So he felt like he was just fully supported in his career. And that's all they wanted, was to give him the most, the cleanest mind to go into playing hockey. And really it was just, shading away what they had done. And so he filed for bankruptcy. I'm trying to find. He ended up signing, and I was trying to find the dates. So he ended up signing with the Avs. What was that first contract that we signed him for? $850,000?
Something like that. It was on a professional tryout. I remember that.
Oh, yep. So that was a PTO. And I was looking for like goofy and sweet stories. And I just think that really the best story of his is literally just his come up. He came to the Avs on a PTO. And I know that you ingest a lot of podcast discussions like I do on the Avs. And it was like the punchline of a joke. Like he was almost like, I don't know. It's almost embarrassing to look back at how much people didn't take it serious. And then he made it. And I mean, the stuff that he brought and the way that the locker room and the people talk about him, it's crazy. But when I read about all these mental health struggles, suicidal thoughts, and he is completely detached from his family at this point. But then when you read about that and the way he talks about it, and now he is in a healthy place, he's in a good spot. But when you go watch the videos of what a joyous, wonderful person he is, he looks like a great dad. He is just dad vibes. And that's what, if I looked at him playing in the park with his kids and you told me that guy was like a Stanley Cup winner, you'd be like, no, no, that guy's or like a gym teacher. But there's a quick documentary that I watched at one point, and it's just about some it goes through a couple hockey players and just some dark stories that people have gone through in recovering and like the upswing. And I think I actually watched it just when he came to the Avs, so I didn't get to see, that final ascent into greatness.
The true ending.
Yes, and it's just I encourage a lot. I encourage everyone to just go kind of read on that, because it is like a cautionary tale to trust with money for these up and coming athletes. And like I said, I would trust my parents with anything.
Yeah,
I certainly wouldn't now without an agent. And I think that it's always healthy to keep legal boundaries, even with people that you trust and love, because, it keeps it out. If you go through and just follow the progression of the news surrounding him and then make it to like the ride to the Stanley Cup, and you go watch like the quest for the cup, it's so beautiful. He just looks so happy, and like is financially in a good place. And it's just, if you don't just love Jack, okay. And like during when they, I think I was even texting you during the opening game last year when we did the Stanley Cup, the banner. I told my husband, I was like,
you and I are just sobbing buckets.
And then I'm like, I'm not even crying. And then when Jack Johnson, I'll start crying talking about it. When Jack Johnson went over there in his whole ass Chicago Blackhawks jersey, it was honestly one of the sweetest. And it's personal, but if that doesn't make you feel a little something, then you are heartless. It was beautiful. It's so sweet that he got to go in his Blackhawks crap, and then the fact that we
grab him again and bring him back.
He's had this crazy journey, and at the end of the day, Colorado's gonna be Jack Johnson's home. Like that's gonna be his. That's where he's putting his flag. He's making a stake there, and I just love it. I really encourage everyone to just go read up on him, and I could see him being somebody who, because he's definitely not going to have a whole lot to retire with, I'd imagine. But I think he's somebody that might hang around in the front office, or even
probably
maybe like some kind of media. I think he'd be great, like broadcasting type stuff. I think he's someone that will be seeing around for a long time. I really do think he'll hang around. We'll see.
Yeah. And it's so nice to see like that avalanche effect on players of any kind of histories, like with Jack Johnson's, like what you said he came from, or just anyone, or people that have even left the Avalanche. There's that avalanche effect is what what everyone calls it, about something about Denver, that is just so appealing, that is just kind of like intoxicating almost. Yeah. So I think it's great, Brett. This especially the stories of what you bring with all these players, and Jack Johnson's is no exception. I mean, it is so difficult to hate the guy.
I know.
Yeah, and like to hate his person.
I don't think that there's like a soul in the NHL that wasn't rooting for Jack Johnson, because if you think about what the transition could have been out of that, just think about if he hadn't gotten that PTO. What do you do? Like, you're $10 million in debt, and now he's going to go do what? Real estate? Like, that's what hockey players do, right? They go sell real estate. Right. I mean, he could have had a not forgiving rest of his life. So it's just, it's nice to see good people succeed. It really feels
it really is. It's
that make all the money.
It's one of those that you're just like, you wish everything good for the guy, it's no exception.
He's just so grateful. Like he's just such emanates thankfulness and just appreciation. It's just good people, salt of the earth guy.
Yeah, you could tell, and every time, like in media days or interviews or whatever, you could tell he's got that kind of Brad Hunt mentality where he's just happy to be here, just happy to be here. Yeah. So, it's awesome, and like I said, we'll criticize his play, but that's neither here nor there, because he's an Avalancheman through and through, so you
certainly got our league men out of him.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, with the time he does continue to just show stable results. He's not making mistakes, and so it's awesome to have him. So thank you so much, Britt, for that player spotlight. Awesome stuff. Love it. Okay, so we'll wrap this up super quick by just doing a quick little hockey 101. This one's going to be like I said, not too slow, or excuse me, it's going to be pretty quick. We're going to be talking about player equipment. We kind of touched on this briefly a long time ago. I say that like it was years ago, because it felt like it was, even though it's been like few months removed since the off season, but
Well, it's funny. I was
been,
just thinking, we should be coming up on, did we start the podcast on opening week last week? Did we start early?
we're
hitting a year?
I think we did opening week. So it'll be, I think, 3 more episodes and then we'll be turning a year old. Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Okay, so as far as player equipment goes, I have a few items behind me, but I do not have access to some others. So we'll start with the ones that I do have. So on a hockey player, they are the only ones that play with, well, I shouldn't say the only ones, but they play with all kinds of different pieces of equipment.
It's absurd.
The main one, this is what everyone plays with, is a hockey puck, right? Don't need to go into much detail as far as what a hockey puck is. It's a heavy chunk of rubber that will break your teeth if it hits you in the mouth. Let's just put it that way.
If you've ever listened to the Abs broadcast, you would know that it is, in fact, vulcanized rubber, as Connor McGinn always thinks that's the person going home with a piece of vulcanized rubber in the stands.
Pretty much. Like, I picked this one up at Shields. They have them everywhere. It's fun to play with. Like, I use them as fidget toys all the time. But yeah, so this is what everyone chases in the rink, right? Don't need to go into the obvious there. The next one here are a player's gloves. In this case here, I have the gloves of a one Mikko Rantanen. Essentially, these are your protective items for your hands. Again, obvious stuff is what I'm saying, but just want to go over it.
Sherwood?
So these were, I guess I should have said they were prototypes that he had.
Oh no,
he never ended up going forward with Sherwood, so it's like they're not game used or anything.
Oh,
but he had them.
Interesting.
You know, so
I
like,
guess
yeah.
I've never noticed Sherwood gloves in the hands. Interesting.
Yeah. So I want to say Connor Bedard is even going to be rolling with Sherwoods here.
That's what somebody was talking about, him with a Sherwood.
Someone was saying
I was like, what the heck?
He's a Sherwood spokesperson, which is kind of crazy because it's not your big dogs like CCM or Bauer.
Doesn't Canadian Tire own Sherwood? Am I wrong on that? I think
I don't remember.
I might be wrong.
Anyways, these gloves are a very valuable asset in the league because you cannot play fully without them on, because should you take a slash to the hands, this is what protects them. And even with a slash on the hands, it still hurts, even with your protective padding on. So these are a goalie's gloves, or excuse me, a player's gloves. Goalies have different types of gloves, which maybe, Britt, we have you bust those out next.
I know. I didn't even bring my stuff in.
No, that's fine. Maybe next week we'll kind of go into the goalies' equipment or something like that. So we'll just talk about players for today. The next piece of equipment that I do have is a hockey stick. This is the lifeline of a hockey player. If you don't play with a stick, why are you playing hockey? This particular one is actually my wife's. So she has her taped in the way that she wants, both on the front and the back. Yeah, she's got the tape job. Mine's slightly different, but it's basically the same concept. For those who are right-handed, the curve, if you look down the barrel of the blade here, or of the shaft of the stick, the curve goes to the left, and vice versa for those. She says it isn't hers, and yet it is.
Let's be real, Allie. It's all yours. Nick's just living in your house.
It absolutely is hers.
The world is Allie's.
Take another look at it. This is, remember, you have the Bauer brand. I have the CCM brand.
Oh.
Anyways, that's their lifeblood. That is what a player needs to score, to stick handle, to pass, to do everything, right? Now, if a broken stick happens on the play, you must forfeit that stick and get a new one. Sometimes players can go through 3 or 4 sticks in a game.
Yeah, I mean, it's so wild.
Oh, she did say it was hers. Oh, I misread it.
And those sticks are like $350, but
they're expensive.
Fiber. So I mean, you can get one good shot, and it, a hit in the little things, and that once that bounce is gone, for a scrub like Nick or I playing in beer league, we don't need that same perfect feel from every single shot. But when you consider the difference it makes for the players who, I would hope that most people here, if you haven't seen like the flex that an NHL player puts on their stick mid shot, it's something that amazes me every time I see it. The stick nearly bends in half.
These things can resist bending. It's incredible. And it's like, so maybe that's why they're so expensive.
At ridiculous rates. It's insane.
Yeah. It's crazy. So they can go through about 2 or 3 sticks in a game. Like you'll see it all the time, especially when you're trying to take a slap shot. You'll see those things just eventually give, So players go through plenty of sticks in a season.
Yep.
A lot of money. A lot of money to do that.
Yeah.
The next item of equipment is a player's skates. Basically, their shoes on the ice. The skates comprise of a blade. Well, it's kind of a curved blade, believe it or not. It's like 2 blades kind of pegged together in one to form one thin blade. And it's kind of, if you look at the profile, it's a reverse U shape, so they can make their cuts one way or another.
Yeah. And I think this is something that I stress so hard in like teaching my kids, but you're a person that listens to a lot of hockey. Understanding, we use these terminologies like edges and edge work and inside edge and outside edge. And I don't think a lot of people like really grasp what it means or think, but what Nik is saying, so you've got that blade and it's got a hollow. So if this is the blade, you're looking at the toe of a skate and there's a hollowed out middle. You have an inside literal like sharp edge, and then you have an outside sharp edge that you utilize for different things. And so that's why when they talk about Makar's edge work, they're riding those edges so hard, pushing it to the max. And that's what I'm glad you brought that up with the blades, Nik, because it's something that I think people talk too casually about when a lot of people don't really get what it means.
Yeah, I wish I had an image of it.
Yeah,
this right here.
It creates hollow, like because you get different players will get different. You get a different blade sharpening. It's how deep you want that little U in the middle of your blade. Yes. So this is like looking at that metal piece straight on. The deeper that dip, the more you're going to cut into the ice with it when you go to push out, or when the more elite you are, generally the deeper cut you're going to have, because they need such precision with it. You're going to have a goalie with a more shallow edge or hollow because they're doing more sliding. They're sliding that whole blade across the ice, but it's that edge work. That's what we talk about with Cale Makar, is he's riding, like where Nik's got his thing, he's riding those points so hard. And when you think about the minuscule little bit of metal that's touching the ice when he's doing that, and how much pressure it's putting on his body and the ice, and like when you stop, you're stopping on just that tip of the blade. So that's why things like with Cale Makar and that finesse, hopefully making it easier on the bodies down the road, it's a really cool to me, and probably really boring to everyone else, science. But I think it's just more Cale Makar. He's making
the science behind it. But this is kind of a little fun fact. Neil deGrasse Tyson actually talked about this exact thing right here.
Really?
That technically speaking, one is not skating on the ice. Rather, you are swimming, believe it or not. Now,
really?
It's all technically, right? Obviously, you're skating, right?
Yeah.
But they said with the skaters, because the skate's profile is like this, these points right here cause so much friction that it actually heats up the ice as they're skating on it. So technically, when you're done, it leaves trails of water, right, where it's been.
Look that up. That's super interesting.
So off of a technicality, you are really swimming, not skating. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so that's a player's skates. These are the blade profiles we're talking about. So like I said, that's what gets you your stops on a dime, your cut,
Yeah, and like
this is
the thing that he's got there where it says more bite, less glide. If you kind of think about, if you put your skate flat on the ice and just try to like slide it sideways, blade flat on the ice, the more hollow it is, the easier it'll slide. So you get that goalie vibe where they're doing side to side, but more bite is where that blade won't let you slide. You get that tight grip. That's when they talk about bite, that's what that is with the blades. It's biting into the ice, digging in, making it so that you can have those super tight, hard stops and turns. I mean, it's insane, even with the USHL guys, to listen to the noises. I would love to just like put T-blades on a whole NHL team and listen to them, because the blades are so loud. But even with regular blades, like it's so loud because they're so aggressively. And I sharpen my skates like once every few weeks. I play less than 10 hours a week, average a couple days a week. These guys are literally wearing down metal on ice to where they probably have to do it after every time they contact the ice. They're wearing down metal on water, and it's incredible. I mean, it's so incredible what these guys do on little metal knives.
Isn't it crazy? It's just insane. So anyway, those are a player's skates. So as far as I guess on the skates, just one last item. You do want to have those things pretty snug, because your ankles, if they are too loose, you'll just kind of bow leg and they'll give way. And so that's, one of the issues that I always have when I skate is I can't skate them tight enough. Mm-hmm. You need to get them pretty tight on there. So they're basically one with your ankle. That's what it allows you to go and be able to perform all these things that a hockey player does. Mm-hmm. Okay. Last item of equipment that we'll go through real fast. I know we've gone over just a little bit, but the last one is a player's helmet. In the NHL, you are given a helmet with a visor right around the top, kind of like about nose up. And that's to provide shelter for the head. That, it pretty straightforward. Around that area is especially where you'll see high sticking. They keep that shield there to keep maybe sticks from hitting you in the eye or poking you in the eye. Sometimes stuff can go up and under, but as long as
that it was within our middle adult lifetime that they didn't wear helmets in the NHL. Does that just make you sick to your stomach?
I don't know. Just think about back in the 30s, 40s, where the goalies didn't wear anything.
At least, and
that was it.
I always think about it, and I'm like, that is even for the times, and they didn't lift the puck the same, but still, they're still on ice colliding. I mean, it's insane. It just blows my mind. And when you warm up without helmets, there is no more dangerous time to be on the ice than warm up. It's just it doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Gabe Landeskog, he's the first that comes to mind.
Yeah.
That's I'm too scared to do that.
Mm-mm. Oh my God. I coach with a helmet and a visor, and sometimes I still just feel weird about it. And people will go visorless in beer league, and I'm like, it's not necessarily the puck. It's these guys flailing arms and sticks and legs. Literally everything that might hit your face is gonna hurt. So the mother in me, I chirp a lot of people with visors on.
Yep, there are still a select few in the league that they were around before the visor rule came into place, right? So Ryan O'Reilly won't wear a visor. I almost said Ryan Reeves won't wear a visor. Milan Lucic. I mean, Keanu Reeves does not have to wear a visor. Let's be honest. There's still that handful that don't. Nope. Jamie Benn, I don't think does. It's just dude, you are insane.
It is, and it is a very distinct genre left that doesn't wear them. It's like a dignified tough guy kind of. You know what I mean? It's almost I don't know.
I think it's clinically insane, but whatever.
Oh, the thing is, in the NHL. They physically cannot react to a lot of the things that are occurring them. Scientifically, the human body can't. So it's not it's something where you can count on defending yourself or putting your hand up. It just, it grosses me out. It just kills me. So, I can't believe Ryan O'Reilly to make him.
Anyway, that's a player's helmet. Right, so that basically takes the general equipment, right? Obviously, there's padding and stuff under, but we don't need to get into those details. So that's basically it: the puck, the skates, the stick, the gloves, the bucket, aka helmet. So that takes it all the way to the end here for this episode. Thank you once again, everybody, for watching the Cluster Puck podcast. Apologize for going just a little bit over the hour that we like to try to hit. But if you like what you see, again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow the Cluster Puck podcast so you can get notified when shows like us go live. And if you want to follow us specifically, you can follow us at the Cluster Puck podcast on Facebook, and then Cluster Puck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Okay, with that being said, Britt, do you have any last comments, any last farewell wishes to the group?
No, everybody in my house, my dogs are all begging for my attention. They're going off to get fed. So
there you go. Well, you can give it to them now. So once again, 1 week closer to the beginning of the season. We're getting really excited. So we'll see you guys next week. And as always, go Avs go.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, go.